They also used a 2-hour video, which is probably on the internet, where I spoke to the employees of my client's business. And I just went through a 2-hour litany of the reason that I left the IRS and what I learned. And the government used that tape in the trial, and I guess because they were so devoid of anything, any evidence, they were trying to convince the jury that this video showed me in the act. And the jury wanted to see the video a second time during deliberations because they could see that I was sincere. I was looking at actual documents. I mean, there was just no BS about my presentation.
Well, for those that don't know, they've written the income tax code, and correct me if I'm wrong, but interviewing you and other experts, where the big banks and offshore corporations get out of paying it. So there's loopholes in there for them. It's all paid into the IRS to go on interest to the debt of the private bankers. We didn't have it until 1913. It was only about 1% until the 50s. We built this country without it. Now it's the parasite dragging us down. As the public begins to learn about this, what are they going to do? But sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is the parasite. I mean, interestingly, there's a website called hearliberty.com, like HEAR, and there's a T. Coleman Andrews interview that U.S. News and World Report did in 1956. And Mr. Andrews was a former IRS commissioner, and you should read how he lambasted the very agency that he was commissioner of and the income tax. At least back in the 50s, there were still people that were in government that recognized communism when they saw it. It's like the chameleon keeps changing its spots, or changing its colors, but it can't change them fast enough. The American people are catching on.
Well, look at what government's doing now. It's openly being run by private banks who are literally stolen $12.8 trillion. Just the number is almost the GDP. 13 trillion is the GDP. And they're saying, Obama says, I'm cutting government in half. Bush tripled it. He's going to more than double it in 1 year. Just the level of lying. I mean, folks would think that I couldn't be amazed anymore by the lying. I am really getting speechless, Joe Banister, because it's so ridiculous how corrupt they are. But then if you study, I guess, criminology like you've done, and I've done it as a layman, when criminals and psychos don't get caught and get away with it, don't they always just get wilder and wilder?
That's exactly right. And I think, the American people, we all collectively, I mean, you and I and many people, all your production team, we're working our butts off as much as we can, and when our eyes were opened, we get to work. But other people's eyes are opened, and they go back to their easy chair. And it's a group effort. People who are just sitting around doing nothing, you got to do something. And my recommendation, as always, first is prayer. I believe that collectively we've offended God greatly, and we need to get back to where we're not doing that. But also watch out for discouragement. When you feel like the discouragement coming on, that's the evil forces trying to disarm you. And everybody's gonna feel that discouragement, but reject it.
I agree.
Move forward.
I agree. Go ahead.
And as I say, I do listen to your show pretty frequently, and you mentioned Hogan's Heroes, and I talk to people about Hogan's Heroes because look at it this way: you had these prisoners of war. The Germans thought that they were these compliant slaves who were immobilized, correct? Mm-hmm. And then what would happen at night? They'd go out into the German countryside and wreak havoc to the Nazi war effort. There's Americans out there that they may be stuck in a job where they can't, take on the IRS, they can't do any of this stuff, but every person can find something that they can do to join this effort to wreak havoc to these tyrants. And I'm convinced everyone can play a role. But stealth is the key. I mean, people like you and me, stealth isn't an option, but there's plenty of people that can use stealth. Don't wear your support for Ron Paul on your sleeve or your bumper sticker like Ann Coulter does. Just, do the job that needs to get done and do it in stealth.
Speak of the devil, that's another example of wannabe co-opting. Suddenly, she's all for Ron Paul, so's Glenn Beck. That shows that we are becoming the majority. They can see our growth curve. We're a huge minority now, but they understand it's just going to keep growing and growing. We are going to be the majority. We're almost there because everything we talked about is coming true. What do you think the average police officer, I mean, I've talked to a lot of them, I know what their view is, but I mean, your take on talking to them, or your average federal person, they tell them for decades there's no New World Order. And it doesn't exist and it's not happening. And then suddenly, they come right out on the news and say there is a world government, but it's going to save you from the economic downturn. I've been told that that's really what's waking government people up, is, wait a minute, you said none of this existed, and now you're telling me it's good.
Right, and I think, maybe you've already done it or you're in the process of doing it, but I mean, what needs to be done is a viral, DVD where you can show that, how long, when you said what you said 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and show that progression, both of what you've been saying, and people trying to expose the truth about the New World Order, and what the other side has been saying, so that within 45 or 90 minutes, people can see that progression of lies. And I think there's a lot of law enforcement people that aren't, they've dealt with their chief, they've dealt with the assistant chief or the lieutenant in the sheriff's department, and the politics that are involved. I don't think it's a big stretch for them to realize that people at the top don't care about the rank and file, and largely they don't even care about the citizens. They just care about their own pension and paycheck and their own careers. Exactly,
and then that becomes a culture of protecting the other corrupt people until the crimes get worse and worse, but nobody can blow the whistle because it'll bring us all down, and that's what causes societies to implode and fall in on themselves. And yes, we have hundreds of shows I've done, thousands of radio shows, hundreds of TV shows. I just haven't had the crew to go back and watch all of that, listen to all of that, but I've thought about making that film, showing the predictions I made, the predictions other people made, and then what's even harder, we remember seeing it and reading it, going back and finding all the news reports where they said that we were lying, and then so show how they were lying, how we were telling the truth, and how it's all basically happening now. That would be extremely, extremely effective. It's like I predicted what Glenn Beck was going to do the other night. It wasn't hard to do, but that really impresses people. They think it's like magic or something, and it's not. I mean, these people have like a shake and bake. It's like, the directions to making pancakes on the back of a box. I mean, I know what they're going to do. I want to bring just Ted Anderson up for about 3 minutes here, real fast, Joe Banister. We're going to come back in the final segment and jam in a few phone calls, but I do want to plug your website, and that's freedomabovefortune.com, correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Alex.
Oh, you bet. We've got that up on screen. Folks can just support you. Very, very, very valiant. And I'm also told that you are going to be going out to the big event that's coming up this next weekend in Lexington, Massachusetts. I believe you're on the list to speak, aren't you?
No, but I'll be at the April 15th, truthattack.org.
That's it. I get it all. It all runs together. Yeah, where is that truthattack.org thing going to be?
Well, it's all over the country. 750 post offices last year. I'm going to be in the Reno and Carson City, Nevada post offices on the 15th. So, certainly love to see people. And our job, of course, is to wake up all the Fox News people that are going to be there.
Absolutely.
The people that watch Fox News.
I think about 750 places, citizens out in front of the news cameras as we take over the media, as we take over the coverage. Same thing with the Tea Party, same things with all of it. We're on the march. Empire is on the run, and I salute every one of you out there. That's why we're having this.